الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد, my dear respected brothers and sisters, many times it happens that when we are involved in this worldly life, we become so busy in the activities, we hardly recognize that how fast the time is passing by. Until sometimes a major event happens, that let's say I completed my studies, now it's time to marry, now it's time to find a suitable spouse. Then children are born. Then what happens that all of a sudden we become grandfathers or grandparents, grandmother. And white hair, gray hair comes, it shows in our hairs. We realize how quickly and how fast, when we look back to our lives, that how quickly our life has gone. Even though we become old, but still we think that we are young. Our hearts are still young. There's a narration, Hazrat Jabir radiallahu anhu narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that inna akhwafa ma atakhawwafu ala ummati, that indeed the thing that I fear most for my ummat, for my people, are two things. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when I leave this world, the two things that I fear most for my people. Because as we know that this world, this worldly life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, no one will be living in this worldly life forever. Even the Anbiya Kiram alayhimus salam. Everyone has to leave this worldly life. And even as we know that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had to leave this worldly life. And he is not going to live here forever. And he mentions this, that when I am going to leave this world, a time will come and I fear two things for my ummat. Number one is hawa. Hawa, the false desires of my ummah. And number two is watulul amal, hope for a longing for a distant future. Watulul amal. Amal is not with the ain, amal, it's with the hamza, amal. Watulul amal. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam further says, فَأَمَّا الْهَوَىٰ فَيَصُدَّ عَنِ الْحَقِّ. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fears two things. Number one is hawa, and number two is watulul amal. Now talking about the first one, hawa, he says فَأَمَّا الْهَوَىٰ, as for the first one, فَيَصُدَّ عَنِ الْحَقِّ, that this false desire will prevent an individual of the truth. It will stop that individual a person who is following his false desires will prevent him to follow the truth. The truth will be there. It will be in front of that individual. Haqq will be there. And that individual will understand also the haqq, that no, this is the truth, yes. He can mention it, he can explain it, but when it comes to the following of that truth, the hawa, the false desires will stop him, will overcome, and he will be following his desires instead of the truth, even though he admits, he believes. Sometimes, like doctors, let's say, they know what is good for health, what is bad for health. And day-to-day life, in their life, they see so many patients have heart problems, have lungs problems, have kidney problems, right? Smoking is something very bad. It has lung problems in it. And they are seeing it. If an ordinary person cannot see inside unless goes in and x-rays and all these types of different. But the doctor sees it. He checks. You have to go to a certain lab to get tests and all that, and then sees the x-rays and everything. So he sees that smoking is bad, and there's a problem with the health. If someone starts smoking so much, and then a certain time will come, it will affect the lungs. Yet still, there are some doctors who smoke, even though they have the knowledge. The knowledge is there, the certainty is there, the yaqeen is there, that this is something harmful for the body. No doubt. Everyone will agree. Yet still, their desire overcomes. The false desire, I want a smoke. I need it. But still the knowledge, they have studied. The knowledge is there. And it's not like 50-50. No, 100% it will affect the body. So take the same principle and example. And this is what Rasulullah ﷺ said, that this is my fear of my ummat. Hawa, the false desire. That my ummat knows that there are 5-time daily prayers. If we ask a Muslim, how many prayers are in a day? He will say 5. Do you believe in it? Yes. Who told you? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it is a hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will say everything. But when the time comes, no prayer. That individual might not pray. Right? But what it will be more important for that individual? His business, his work, his family, or whatever. When the time of salah comes, he will neglect that salah and he will be busy in something else instead of being busy in salah. But if you ask a question, what is the most important thing after Shahada, after La ilaha, believing in La ilaha illallah, you will say a salah. Yes, 5-time daily prayers and this and that. But, so, the point here, the knowledge, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not say that I have fear about the knowledge. He said that I have a fear of hawa, of the false desires of my ummah. A person has wealth, Allah has given wealth. He spends it in so many things. But when it comes to 2.5% every year, now he has hesitation and he will calculate many times what to do and this and that. And so many Muslims, they don't even give zakat, unfortunately. So many people travel all over the world. They have seen so many countries, they have been to so many attractions. Allah gave them that ability, that wealth to do. But when it comes to Makkah, Medina, when it comes to Hajj and Umrah, there are so many people, they have not gone. It is not that they don't have the money. They have the knowledge. If you ask them, what do you think about Hajj? Yeah, Hajj is farz. Every Muslim has to do it according to their ability. They have the knowledge, they have the certainty that yes, we believe in Hajj. But when it comes, there are so many things and so many excuses, so many wrapped up backup work that they have to do. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ilm is not my fear. Knowledge is not my fear. What the fear is hawa, the false desires of my ummah." And what happens that when, and as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said next, that فَأَمَّا الْهَوَى فَيَصُدَّ عَنِ الْحَقِّ, that this false desire will prevent you from following the truth. Desire overcomes and wins. And the second thing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, that what he fears about is وَطُولُ الْأَمَلِ, hope for a distant future. Every person has it within. Every person thinks about the future. 5 years, 10 years, 30 years ahead. He plans from way before that, after 10 years, after 20 years, where should I be? And what happens, this longing of the future, of living a long life, he starts postponing some good actions, some amal. Starts postponing it. Okay, you know what? Let me finish my studies. Let me get married first. Let me buy a house first. Let me do this first. Let me do that first. You know, when a person comes in an age, has that much money or wealth, he has it, that he can go for Hajj, and Hajj is farz upon him. So many things comes first. Let me do this. Let me start a business. Let me see how it goes. Let me get married first. So many things comes in between. وَطُولُ الْأَمَلِ, and then the last, what it is? Okay, when I retire. So many people, I hear this. When I retire, I'll do. And then when a person retires, Allah brings him in that age, then there's something else. Postponing what he has to do many years back. وَطُولُ الْأَمَلِ. So this, the distant future, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was fearing about this ummah, that this will happen, and it is happening. The main thing is that how do we know that we're going to be living after 5 years, after 10 years, after 20 years? Am I going to reach that age of retirement or not? The thing is that our tulul amal increases, keep on increasing. But the level of our obedience stays the same. What we were 10 years back, 15 years back, 20 years back, the level is the same. Why? Because we keep on thinking, وَطُولُ الْأَمَلِ, that okay, you know what? I still have time, I will do it later. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about وَطُولُ الْأَمَلِ. What he said about hawa, the false desires, فَيَصُدَّ عَنِ الْحَقِّ. If a person has this desire, false desires all the time, following his desires, it will prevent him from the truth. And about وَأَمَّا طُولُ الْأَمَلِ فَيُنْسَى الْآخِرَةِ. A person who has this type of an habit of طُولُ الْأَمَلِ, a distant future, this distant future causes people to forget about the hereafter. People forget. Why? They're always focused on that. You know what? After 10 years, 15, 20, 30, or retirement age, I will do this, I'll do that. They think that they're going to be living in that up to that certain age. And they forget that my akhirah will come anytime. Right? My qiyamah will come anytime. I mentioned this before. There are three types of qiyamah. Qiyamah-e-sughra. Qiyamah-e-sughra is every individual's death. So when a person dies, his qiyamah starts. His questioning starts. Number two is qiyamah-e-wusta. Generation, when one generation ends, the other generation comes, that is their qiyamah. And one is qiyamah-e-kubra, that is the main day of judgment. So when a person keeps on thinking about that, okay, you know what? He got the opportunity to do something good. He postpones it till the evening or to the morning or next week and next month and next year. Hajj comes. Hajj is coming, alhamdulillah. Again, Hajj is coming in July. Now those who have the means to do it, is that it is farz upon them. They have never done it because farz is Hajj is always, it's once in a life. And after that, if a person has, Allah gives tawfiq, that becomes nafal, that is. But once in a life, istita'a, the istita'at that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, once in a life. Hajj is coming. Those people who has the ability to go, it is farz upon them to go. But what will happen? Wamma tulul amal. They have that tulul amal. You know what? I'll go next year. Next year comes. I'll go next year. Next year. This happens. Then so many years passes away. So wa'amma tulul amal fayunsal akhirah. So for the longing and the long distance, that okay, you know what? I will do it later. Then what happens? For those individuals, they forget about the hereafter. They forget that they have to die one day and they have to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam further says, Inna hadha dunya murtahilatun zahibatun. That we are travelers of this dunya, of this world. Me and you, we are travelers, we're musafir. And murtahilatun zahibatun. The more we go, the more the worldly life is going back towards us. When we are driving a car on the highway, so whatever we are leaving is zahibatun. And we're going further towards our destination. We're getting more closer to our destination. And we're leaving the suffer behind us. And وَإِنَّ هَذِهِ الْآخِرَةِ مُرْتَحِلَةٌ قَادِمَةٌ. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the akhirah is getting more closer to us. And dunya is getting more further. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that as for these two abodes, these two, dunya and the akhirah, there are a group of people who love the world and the dunya more, this life, and there are people who love the akhirah more. Right? And of course, our vision and our goal should be towards the akhirah. This worldly life, la hisab. There's no accountability in this world, in this worldly life. This world is darul amal. This is a place of doing actions. Darul Amal La Hisab. Here we have to do a lot of actions. And La Hisab, no accountability. But the Akhirah is the opposite. Right? There will be accountability and no more Amal. The person say, okay, now I have a lot of time to do something. That's it. No Amal. No actions to do. Allah does not want your actions there. Allah wants actions here, the efforts here. And then we will be accountable in the Akhirah that whether these actions are acceptable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. So we should always be looking to improve ourselves. Hawa, as this is the fear of Allah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The hawa, the false desires. Desires are there. This is how we are being created. Allah has placed desires in us. This is natural. But if our desires is overcoming the truth, that is what we are wrong. Our desires should be following the deen. Our desires say something else. Our deen says something else, that we should be following our deen, not our desires. And watulul amal, this fear of having distance, that I will do this later on, I will do that, after 30 years, after this and that, because we don't know when we are going to die, when we are going to leave this world. So whenever we get the opportunity to do something good, we do it right away. We should not be postponing it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allah